Morning. Today is Monday, September 23rd. I'm calling the Municipal Services and Properties Committee to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Bishop.
Here.
Stoller. Harrison.
Here.
Jones. Casey.
Present.
Kelly. Warren.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, Moore.
Thank you. Let's get started today with Public Works and the Metro Parks. Ordinance number 838, 2024. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Director, you're going to lead the PowerPoint?
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
good morning, everyone. The Department of Public Works, we have a piece here. Actually,
Oh, excuse me, Director. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ordinance number 838, 2024 by Council Members Bishop and Griffin. This is a departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Public Works and Capital Projects to convey and grant various easements to the Ohio Department of Transportation at a city-owned property within the Garfield Park Reservation in the city of Garfield Heights for the purpose of replacing the Broadway Avenue State Route 14 bridge and declaring the easement rights no longer needed for the city's public use. Okay, Director.
Okay, thank you. So I don't even want to delay it. We have Commissioner DeGenero here from the Mayor's Office of Capital Improvements, and she's going to give us the more detail of what's happening with this project and any questions that you have. And also, she believes she has a guest with her. I'll let her introduce her guest.
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you, Director. My name is Suzanne DeGenero. I'm the Commissioner of Real Estate, and I have with me Kyle Baker, who is the Director of Real Estate for Cleveland Metro Parks. The ordinance would authorize the granting of various easements for the replacement of the Broadway Avenue Bridge. The bridge is going to be replaced with a much shorter span bridge, and a multi-use trail is going to be installed as part of the project. For the bridge, and this project is being completed by ODOT. It's being 100% paid for by ODOT. It's on property that we currently lease to Cleveland Metro Parks, and so we have determined that the best way to do this would be through permanent highway easements, rather than, actually through a conveyance to ODOT for the roadway because of the lease. So there are several easements that are needed. There's an approximately 2-acre permanent highway easement that is needed to construct the bridge, including the multi-use trail, vegetated earthen slopes, and a bioswale for storm water management. There is a utility easement that's needed for electric line relocation. That's approximately 0.47 acres in size. And then there's also a temporary construction easement that is going to be needed to be conveyed to ODOT. It's approximately 0.081 acres in size, and it's needed for grading and access to the work area. The temporary construction easement will be for a duration of 18 months, and the permanent highway easement and utility easements are perpetual. The Garfield Park Reservation is maintained under the lease by Cleveland Metro Parks, and Cleveland Metro Parks has approved the project. There will be no adverse impacts to the recreational activities or features in the park. Safe access to the park will be maintained at all times during construction. In addition, the city has agreed to gift the proceeds from the sale of the easements to ODOT, to Metro Parks, which funds will be deposited into a restricted account to be used solely for continued maintenance and construction of improvements within the park. The sale of the easements will be at appraised value, which is $142,400 is the value of the easements. And we've also included in your packet a location map showing the easements. They are color-coded. The red area is the permanent highway easement that's
Okay,
next to
Commissioner,
Mr. Baker's.
I do not have the map. Does anybody else have the map? I don't have any map. Actually, I was looking for the map last night. We wasn't provided with a map.
I apologize for that, Councilman. I did bring copies that I can hand to you. And here's sort of an overview showing the actual project location.
Yeah, we need to make copies. Okay, so the highway easement, explain what is that now? The bridge, will the bridge be shut down to traffic? How does that work? And let me say this, I walked over that bridge many a days, and I did not like it. It's dangerous, and it's just dangerous. So what are we gonna do with that bridge?
Yep, so the bridge is being relocated. It's a long bridge. It doesn't really need to be that long. Most of it is going to be filled in to the west of the railroad tracks. The bridge itself will go over the railroad tracks, but it's going to be a much shorter span. And the current bridge will be replaced with a new bridge that's, got these vegetated earthen slopes that slope down into the park. So it's going to be a much nicer, more user-friendly bridge.
So if you walk across the bridge, you basically can walk over the edge and go down into the park now, after we finish?
I don't know the answer to that question. My guess is you won't be able to. You'll be restricted from doing that. But I would have to find out what the plan is for that type of access. My understanding is, it's not really intended to be accessed. The park isn't intended to be accessed via the slopes because I think the grade is just too steep.
Okay. Now, the trail that you mentioned, that's gonna be on the bridge?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. All right. I want to open up to questions from my colleagues. Councilman Casey?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to Ms. DeGenero, we currently own the property, correct?
Correct.
And then after the sale of this, who will own it?
The easements will be granted. We will still own in fee simple the property of the
Okay.
entire Garfield Reservation, which is leased to Cleveland Metro Parks. The easements will be granted to ODOT so that they can construct the bridge within those easement areas.
And then after the construction's done, the easements come back, they're back to us, right? I mean, we're just giving them temporary permission to go onto the property to redo the bridge, correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, I apologize if I was unclear. The easements will remain, the standard highway easement will remain in perpetuity with ODOT. So they'll have that easement in perpetuity for the bridge. There's a temporary construction easement that's needed for access to the work area and for grading. That easement will come back to the fee owner, subject to Cleveland Metro Parks lease.
All right, Mr. Chairman and Mr. DeGenero, you said something about $142,400?
Yes, that's the value, through the chair, that's the value of all of the easements, the standard highway
Okay.
easement, the utility easement, and the temporary easement.
So are we selling the easement then? For the $142,400?
Yes, we are
Okay.
selling the
All right.
easements to ODOT and then granting the money to Cleveland Metro Parks.
So why would we do that?
Well,
Mr. Chairman, to Ms. DeGenero, why would we sell something and then turn around and grant the money away?
through the chair to the councilman, so the funds will be gifted to Cleveland Metro Parks and deposited into a restricted fund to be used solely for improvements in the park. And actually, I'll have Mr. Baker speak to that specifically, what the funds will be used for.
Well, Mr. Chairman, to Ms. DeGenero, to me, it doesn't make any sense for us to sell it and then give the money away to maintain it afterwards. So, Mr. Baker, maybe you can shed some light on that, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Baker.
Thank you, and through the chair to Councilman Casey. So Cleveland Metro Parks has operated this park since 1986, similar to how Cleveland Metro Parks has partnered with the city on other city-owned properties like the lakefront. and Brookside Reservation and the zoo, whereby the lease is a 99-year lease with 99-year renewals, so it's akin to fee ownership. So for the last 1986 to now, let's say nearly 40, 50 years, Cleveland Metro Parks has taken on all of the operational and capital maintenance associated with Garfield Park Reservation. In fact, in the past 4 years since 2020, we've invested nearly $10 million in that reservation to bring a new, restore the old pond, restore a lot of the old masonry on the old bridge, and then bring a activity center that will be opening soon in a nature-based preschool. So the way this works is the vehicle that the city and Cleveland Metro Parks often use to have Cleveland Metro Parks take on park properties is the lease. But in effect, for tax purposes, for every other purpose, it's fee ownership. It's just a partnership between the city of Cleveland and Cleveland Metro Parks that it would be a lease.
So it's just a partnership. So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. DeGennaro, Mr. Baker, if we grant these easements, collect the money, we don't have to give the money back to the Metro Parks. We're doing this as a good gesture because they do a good job.
Through the chair to Councilman Casey, correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, is there any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Harrison.
Thank you. On the line of question, as Mr. Casey has asked, I guess I'm confused about why we are giving this money to the Metro Parks when typically Metro Parks, when you sign these leases, through the chair, that you are responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the property, correct? Through the chair?
Through the chair to Councilman Harrison, yes, Cleveland Metro Parks is responsible for the maintenance of Garfield Park Reservation.
Got it. And through the chair, is Garfield Park Reservation within the city of Cleveland?
Through the chair to Councilman Hairston, no, it's in the city of Garfield Heights.
Gotcha. And the only piece of land that we have that is right on that edge area of the, where is that? Edge of what? The little piece of land? Because this map is kind of hard to read.
Apologies, through the chair to Councilman Hairston. So all of the easement,
Thank you for that. I'm looking at the map and I'm just trying to figure out I see the information here, but it doesn't tell me which part is actually our land, or is all of this kind of the grass area here, is this ours, or just this piece here, or what? It doesn't note clearly on the map. Well, here's a second piece here.
through the
Well, this
chair to
is- this
Councilman
is give
Hairston,
us- yeah.
the entire project area, the bridge, the new bridge to be constructed, and all of the easements that are being granted are within the city of Garfield Heights. And I apologize, I misspoke. Portions of the reservation are in the city of Cleveland, but
Not
The-
near this.
not this,
Okay.
correct?
All right, thank you for that. So, okay, I better understand now. And so I would, Mr. Chair, it's in my opinion that we do not give this money to the Metro Parks, that we keep this and we do something within the city of Cleveland with this $142,000. I'm sure there's a park nearby that's an actual city-owned park, or within the city of Cleveland, that we can better utilize these dollars for. We pass levies to support the Metro Parks. They do a wonderful job, in their work. I'm not, begrudging that. I think that we can, as Councilman Casey started down the line, we can better use these dollars, maybe somewhere near and around the area, maybe that Metro Parks operate, or the city of Cleveland owned park in the area. I understand why, it's to help keep up the area, but Mr. Chair, I would recommend that we not give these dollars away after the sale of the easements to ODOT. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. I do want to say that I frequent the park quite often. I know Councilman Jones frequents this park quite often. I ran into Councilman Jones on the trail one morning.
Yes.
And I do want to say that the Metro Parks have been investing heavily in this piece of property over the last couple of years. I've watched the transformation of the pond. I'm seeing the activity center being built on I try to do it on a daily basis, but sometimes I don't make it there. But anyway, it is a very progressive type of space and park. And I think a lot of Clevelanders use this park. I ran into quite a few Clevelanders in this park. It also goes in back of my largest development in the Mill Creek area. A lot of the Mill Creek residents also use this park. So the Metro Parks is doing a great job on the southeast side of the city, which I know it technically is in Garfield Heights, but this piece of property is a prime piece of property for the city of Cleveland. This park is being upgraded, and it's going to last, and it's going to be used for Clevelanders to recreate for the next 50 to 100 years. I just want to say that to my colleagues because I do frequent this park a lot. Is there any other questions? Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You are absolutely correct in your assessment of the park as relates to the investments that are being made there currently. And, you know, I've been a advocate for improvements there for quite some time. So it really is nice to see the investments that are actually being made in this particular park. And there are numerous Clevelanders who do use the park. I know I'm one of them, and I'm normally walking that park with this headpiece on, trying to deal with all the constituent complaints that are constantly coming in all the time. So it's a form of trying to get my exercise in at the same time. Lower my blood pressure as I'm trying to handle constituent issues. So it has been a great experience for me, that park, as well as seeing all the changes that are being made. Though I'm not against this particular piece here that is currently in front of us, I do have questions concerning it. And the first question, Mr. Chairman, to the director, how did this come about where we would actually be granting funds to another municipality for a project of improvement in their territory?
Through the chair to Councilman Jones. So we're not granting funds to another municipality. We are technically selling easements to ODOT, who is paying 100% for the bridge improvement project. The funds that ODOT would compensate, the compensation from ODOT for those easement interests is being granted to Metro Parks because they've got a long-term lease for the property. They maintain it. They've agreed to, approve the easements, and approve the project. They have a say as the leaseholder, and they've agreed to do that so that the project can move forward and the improvements can take place. So yes, the answer is we're not granting money to another municipality. We're simply taking the compensation that ODOT is giving us for the easements and allowing Metro Parks to place it into a restricted fund to be used for park improvements.
Okay.
Future park improvements.
So right now, they're going to give us 100 and how much is the total there?
It was, appraised value is 100 of the easements is $142,400.
Okay, so they're saying, hey, we'll give you this to have the rights to make the changes we need because we need to have that easement authority. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Through the chair, ODOT is compensating us for those easement interests that they need for their project.
Okay, that's great. So then now the 142,000 now that they're giving to us, for that, then we can now take those funds and do whatever we would want to with them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then the next question would be then, what it sounds like here is that I don't know who negotiated, right? So, but then the $142 thousand is now saying, hey, we'll put that back into the park. Was it something that they themselves stated that they wanted it back into the park? Or was it us? How did all of that come about?
Through the chair to Councilman Jones, ODOT did not request the funds be granted to Cleveland Metro Parks. The request actually came from Cleveland Metro Parks based on the maintenance and improvements that they do on the property.
I see. So it was their leadership say, hey, this extra 142,000, we've put so much in it so far. Let me ask, how much have they put in it so far?
Through the chair, I'll defer to Mr. Baker.
Through the chair to Councilman Jones, in the past, since 2020, it's been nearly $10 million.
How much?
$10 million.
$10 million. Are you, Mr. Chairman, to distinguished gentleman, are you Metro Parks?
Yes, I'm the director of real estate for Cleveland Metro Parks.
Okay, so you look totally different. So I was like, we have a new hire, but you from Metro.
Sean McDermott was busy today, so I did the chair to.
Okay, so at this space, in Cleveland, we're like, okay, 142,000, we'll go ahead and chip in and be a part of it. And that's pretty much where it came out to be, is what it sounds like, Mr. Chairman, to the distinguished lady. Is that correct?
Through the chair, the councilman, correct.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I think 142,000, though it may seem not like a lot, but maybe it could be, depending on how we use it. And I would presume Metro Health is already fully funded on this particular project. Would that be the case, Mr. Chairman, to Metro Health?
Through the chair to Councilman Jones, there are still portions of the project we are working on. The program center is not complete yet, and I believe that there still are some scope issues that we're having. So we're close, but we're getting there, particularly on some of the bridge and trail restoration that you see around the pond, and then the actual program center.
Yeah. So Mr. Chairman, I'm in this particular instance, I would, whatever the privy of the chair is on this here project, I don't see, I could go either way on it. I think that, 142,000, if Metro Health doesn't need it, which Metro Health is pretty healthy, is that correct?
Mr. Councilman, through the chair, we are a levy-funded organization, and we are always looking for ways to improve. But I mean, we have funds, and through property taxes, and through the support of the city of Cleveland when we passed our levy. But we're always looking for ways to particularly invest in areas like this that are in the inner core of the region.
And then another question I would have that ended up something different, but certainly would like to sit down with you and talk with you about, we have a park, Caruge Park. We've been talking about the possibilities over the years to have your organization come in and really figure out some kind of way to help us with a path trail that is connecting towards Warrensville. And it has been quite, a process, over the space of time. And so I'm not sure if you might be able to come over into our area, but we certainly have need as well. And with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor. I have no further comments. I would hope that Metro Health would look over in the southeast side to see if they might be able to be of any assistance in helping us with our project over there, or if not, would at least be able to give us some kind of ideas and concepts or assistance. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I have no unreadiness with your leadership on this particular piece.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jones. One last thing. As I looked at the map last night, is this park is just one parcel? Is that what I saw? Just one big parcel?
Through the chair to the councilman, the project, I would have to find out the definite answer to that question, but the project itself is within permanent parcel 544-29-001.
Right. And how
which
many
is the big
acres is the
parcel.
Mr. Chair, I believe it is nearly 400 acres. This parcel, and the permanent parcel is a misnomer because they change. So permanent parcel number is not accurate all the time. But the portion that the city leases to Cleveland Metro Parks is one PPN, one permanent parcel number. Cleveland Metro Parks has since acquired lots of parcels around it to expand the park up, for example, in the Mill Creek.
The Mill Creek area. Okay, all right. And so just let everybody know, and the viewing public, that once the pond is complete, you'll be able to take little paddle boats out on the pond.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so the program center is in You Try It sports, so paddle boards, fishing, kayak. So folks that are maybe a little nervous about going to Lake Erie and learning those things,
Yeah.
Garfield Pond creates a better opportunity for younger folks and folks that aren't as experienced.
So what species fish is going to be in that pond? I'm getting my frying pan ready. What species?
Mr. Chair, I didn't bring our aquatic biologist today, so I can't tell you what that is.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on ordinance number 838, 2024?
Bishop,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Hairston,
No.
Jones,
Yes.
Casey,
No.
Kelly,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 nays.
All right. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 838, 2024 stands approved. Please sign it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You don't have any more?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, capital projects. Director, I thought you were going to be absent today.
I'm back today.
You back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start off with ordinance number 815, 2024 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Hairston. This is a departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to Flats South Cleveland LLC to encroach into the public right-of-way of West 4th Street by installing, using, and maintaining a wooden stairway and a wooden ADA accessible ramp with metal guardrails and handrails. Okay, Director?
Mr. Chairman, so this is an encroachment permit request. The company that owns the building is Flats South Cleveland LLC, and the address is 1986 West 3rd Street, but the building stretches from West 3rd to West 4th, and so this encroachment request is on West 4th Street on the back side of the building. And they're looking to install, as you mentioned, a wooden stairway and ADA accessible ramp on the back of the building as part of this warehouse renovation project.
Okay, so Director, why, is there a reason why it's wooden? Is it just matched the core of the decks and the flats? Is that what I'm?
Mr. Chairman, I do not know why they selected wooden treatment for the ramps and the staircases. It is a historic building. There's a number of old historic buildings there that are slowly being turned over and renovated. This building does not appear to be wooden, but I'm not sure why they selected that treatment.
So they also mentioned that it was going to be metal guardrails and handrails. So
Yes.
it's just a preference for them to have a wooden.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 815, 2024? No questions? Seeing no further questions.
Just real quick if I can. I'm looking at the building right now. Are we talking about, Mr. Chairman, if I may, are we talking about putting a wooden guardrails right in front of the actual building itself?
Through the chairman, the councilman. So the front of the building is on West 4th Street, and they're looking to do this addition on West 4th Street, which is the rear of the building. So it's on the industrial side of the building. It's not on the frontage of West 4th Street, which is where their front doors are. It's for the rear of the building.
So right now, if I'm looking at 1986 West 3rd Street, I'm actually looking at the back end of the building, not the front end of the building?
If you,
Because there's no way I can get around and take a look and see what you're talking about.
yeah,
And then-
it's kind of hard to see on the Google
So,
Maps.
so what are we talking about in terms of frontage, in terms of where the guardrail will go?
You mean how large the guardrail
Let me
is?
show you what I'm looking at, then you can tell me if we're looking at the same photos.
Okay. This is what we're looking at here.
See, this is what I'm looking at right now.
That appears to be West 4th Street.
Also, is this the place where it's gonna be put?
The encroachment is on West Third Street, which is the one in the back.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
the view I'm looking at is right here. Would that be West Third?
West Fourth and West Third.
Okay, so I'm over here.
Here, come on up. I'm bringing in reinforcements here.
All right, so I'm
So-
looking at, okay, good.
Here, come. So this is Eric Westfall, our city surveyor. He's been working with the property owner. Eric, maybe you could explain a little bit more about what the property owner is requesting and what this ordinance entails.
Is this it right here? This is the wood.
So Councilman Jones, let's run everything through the chair so the public can follow our meetings.
Okay, so.
Okay?
To the chair, I'm Eric West. Oh, pardon me.
Mr. Chairman, to the director, the issue was trying to visibly understand exactly where they would be putting this ramp at. Given the fact, Mr. Chairman, that it would be wooden,
Right.
wanted to get an ideal visual of what that would look like. And
Excuse me, Councilman Jones. So we didn't get a visual. We didn't get any photos attached with our executive summary, correct? Yeah, we didn't get that. I was looking for that also. So Councilman Jones, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Being able to have that also helps us sitting here to understand, why this versus that in terms of material, but, more important to give us a visual to see. Because I would presume that, with the installation of installing and maintaining a new wooden stairway and a wooden ADA ramp, at that location is for the fundamental business itself. Is that correct?
Excuse me, for the fundamental.
For the usage of the ramp is for the building itself.
Through the chairman of the council, and yes, the ramp is being built by the owner of the building for the benefit of his building.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any unreadiness.
All right. Okay, thank you, Councilman Jones. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 815, 2024? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 815, 2024 is approved. Please sign it. Ordinance number 814, 2024, by Council Members Spencer, Bishop, and Harrison. This is a departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to depot on Detroit LP to encroach into the public right-of-way of Detroit Avenue by installing, using, and maintaining a concrete stairway. All right, Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this is a transit-oriented development that's been proposed on RTA property off of Detroit Avenue. And in its current state, it's a parking lot for the Cudell Rapid Station. And there's an existing set of concrete stairs that go from the elevated parking lot area down to the sidewalk of Detroit Avenue. And so this property owner is, and their name is Depot on Detroit LP. They're proposing to replace the current existing concrete stairs with a new set of concrete stairs. Those stairs extend about 4.3 feet into the right-of-way, and the purpose is to connect their development site to the public right-of-way. That gives better access to the public right-of-way as well as Cudell Commons across the street.
Okay. Have you gotten the blessings of Councilwoman Spencer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any questions on ordinance number 814, 2024? All right, seeing no further questions on 814, 2024 is approved. Please sign it. Ordinance number 809, 2024, by Council Members McCormick, Bishop, and Harrison, and Griffin, is a departmental request, an emergency ordinance to change the name of a portion of West Roadway to Sherwin Way. Okay, Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this request came in from Sherwin-Williams in coordination with the new headquarters that's being built on Public Square. The request is to rename the portion of the roadway in front of the headquarters to Sherwin Way. And so this would be a portion of what's currently called West Roadway from the northerly line of Superior Avenue to the southerly line of Frankfurt Avenue. So it's quite literally just the street in front of the quadrant where they're headquarters is being constructed. Original plans were to open at the end of and move in at the end of 2024. I've recently seen that that's shifted to early 2025. But this request is to, honor or brand, if you will, the roadway on which the headquarters has been constructed.
Okay, so the Councilman McCormick support this piece?
Yes, he does.
And did Sherwin-Williams follow the normal protocol to get a street named after him? Or how did that work?
Yeah, through Mr. Chairman, so the normal protocol is to put a request into the city, which they did, and then we, in our survey section, need to look to see if there are other addresses that would be impacted by changing that name. So if you, for instance, wanted to change, West 177th Street, and there's a lot of residences, you're not going to be able to change that officially. This particular quadrant of West Roadway has no other addresses on it. Therefore, the city was able to make this name change. And so our process then is to take it before City Council to make this request.
All right, is there any questions on ordinance 809? Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the director, when City Council wants to do a secondary name or a name change, we have to do a survey of the street. Do you have that survey for this change?
Through the chairman and the councilman, the only entities on this street is Public Square on one side and Sherwin-Williams on the other side of this quadrant of Public Square.
So, Mr. Chairman, to the director, my issue with this is, and not that I won't be supportive of it. My issue is that are they dictating to us the name of the street? Right? They're coming to us just because they have their building there. Now they want the street named after it as well. So if I write a letter to Sherwin-Williams, I'm not writing it to their current address. I'm writing it to Sherwin Way, correct?
That would be correct.
Yeah. And so what's to stop, if we set this precedent, what's to stop Key Bank from wanting to turn in front of their building into Keyway? Or iHeartRadio on Euclid Avenue, to change their portion of Euclid Avenue to iHeartWay. Are we setting a precedent here that we may not be able to walk back?
Through the chairman and the councilman, definitely good questions. We took this request seriously. I think the reason why it made sense to us is that there are no other current, there are no other entities on this stretch, nor would there be in the future due to the way the headquarters is built and public squares across the street. So I suppose if there's another situation where there's literally one owner on the street, that they would have the same opportunity as Sherwin-Williams would.
And then, Mr. Chairman, if the council has to go through a process of renaming a street, and it's not, the administration doesn't have that same process, we need to look at something. I know what our rules are in order to do a secondary street, but if it's what's good for the goose should be good for the gander, right? I mean, it shouldn't just be somebody wanting to come change the name of a street and then the city just be okay or not okay with it, right? I mean, there should be a little bit more in detail to the process of changing a name of a street, especially in downtown, right, where there's so many visitors, so many this, so many that, where people aren't going to be looking for Sherwin Way, right? They're going to be looking for whatever street they're on. I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Council, I'm gonna come back to you. Councilwoman Marr.
Thank you. Director, through the chair, can you clarify, this is not a honorary secondary street renaming. This is renaming the legal name of this section of road in the city of Cleveland, through the chair.
Through the chairperson, this is correct. And it is unusual, and this is the first one that I recall, but not to say that it hasn't happened.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question, is how many other ones of these where we change the legal name has come up? And to your knowledge, you don't recall one from your time in the city of Cleveland, through the chair?
That's correct. Not to say there hasn't been one, but I don't recall one.
Okay. I'll say I'll be a no vote on this. I think they're welcome to petition for a secondary honorary street renaming, as anybody is in the city of Cleveland, and work with Councilman McCormick to do so. But I wouldn't support changing the legal name of a street in the city of Cleveland for a business that. For any business at this point. And, you know, for instance, they went through their process and got their TIF dollars before our CBA agreement was in place. And I think there have been many instances where we've become aware that we would have asked for more out of the money they got for the city of Cleveland to build this building. So I'll be a no vote on this, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Richard Starr.
Thank you, Chairman. Similar to some of the questions my colleagues asked, when I'm just looking up just the basic process of street renaming, obviously you go through the Department of Public Works, then you have to get a petition, and then you have to also notify the owners and the residents in that area. And I'm just trying to get an understanding, was this actually done, or this was something that just came about because of the new development that is taking precedent through the chair?
Through the chair of the councilman, so I believe the list that you're speaking to is the requirements for an honorary street naming, and this is a different process that we went through because it's not for an honorary street naming. For what it's worth, I do believe that the name does qualify as, I believe you have a rule that it needs to be something that's been passed for a certain number of years, and that would be the case for Mr. Sherman. But no, we did not go through that process. But like I said, there are only two owners, City of Cleveland and Sherwin-Williams, on this section of the street.
All right, and through the chair to our staff, can you send over to me to look at the ordinance that was passed to grant the administration the opportunity to not have to get a petition, or rather they do have to get a petition in regards to renaming of a street, just so I can look at that, because I think it has to be similar. If we have to get signatures, we have to get a petition in. I believe the same process should apply when it relates to street renaming that the administration wants to do. So I yield, Chair, and I don't know if I'm going to support this yet.
All right, thank you, Councilman Starr. Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would remind the rules that we have in place for street signs, which I'm not, a fan of. The way it used to be is that you would come to the elected official representing that territory, and he would have the decision-making on what streets would have secondary street names. However, unfortunately, because of a lot of politics that happened before this sitting council here with naming a street after Don King exploded across the seams, and there was the questioning of maybe we should look at a process by which we should go to in order to evaluate street renaming. And so again, I'm not a fan for the process that we have in place. This is Kerry McCormick's neighborhood. And so now we're talking about a space, and then I'll just remind the committee is that normally we don't go against other elected officials if they're in approval of names being in their respective territories. That's moving over the line into someone else's governing territory. So I would just remind us to be very careful and cautious of how we do this, because it is moving into another council person's territory. Number one, and if someone was doing it in your neighborhood, you wouldn't like it. And then number two, the issue is how much space are we looking at where this street would be? Is it right in front of it? Is it 40 feet? Is it 100 feet? What is it?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, so it is the quadrant that is right in front of the Sherwin-Williams headquarters. Let me see if I have the exact distance here. let's see. I believe it's 800 or 80 feet southerly from Superior Avenue. So it's about 80 feet.
One of the things I will say is that when we had a situation like that in my neighborhood, there was a group that wanted to name a street a certain name. And so we, Mr. Chairman, had a community meeting. And we brought all the people on that street into a community meeting and had a session and allowed for anyone who was in opposition to that to have an opportunity to have their public speak. And so with that being said, the citizens came out and said, hey, we don't want our street to be named after someone in our community, unfortunately, that had hit a tragedy. And so we stopped it. But the council went on to then put other rules and regulations in place, of which I'm not totally a fan, as well as limiting the amount of street names that we could rename in a calendar year. So with that being said, I'm not opposed to it if we're going to say that, Mr. Chairman, that since we have these rules in place, then these rules should also be a part of this. I'm not, and again, Mr. Chairman, I would go to your direction on this in terms of your leadership on which way you would go with this. But I just wanted to remind the committee that if it's not too much, and the reason why you hear me saying what I'm saying is because we can't have it both ways here at the table. We said here this previous administration, Jackson's administration, approved of over $100 million worth of breaks and tax grants for this property to be built in the city of Cleveland. One of the fundamentally important things that we have to remember here at this table, that if we're going to be a city that's moving forward and we're trying to get development, then we need to get as much development as we possibly can. One of the major issues that we're having right now is attracting development in the city of Cleveland and growth in the city of Cleveland. We're moving at a snail's pace. And if we want to improve getting more police out into our streets, we want to improve the conditions of education and having more monies for our educational systems. If we want to offer more services to our communities, then we need to bring more businesses in with tax-paying dollars to be able to fund these programs to take care of the business of our communities. And so, Mr. Chairman, I'm not opposed to where you would be at on this issue, but I just think that we have, in past administrations, put a lot into making sure that building get built. I don't think that we should be petty here with 100 feet.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jones. Just a note, I did just receive a text message from Kerry McCormick, Councilman McCormick, and he is fully in support of this piece of legislation. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Councilwoman Marr.
Thank you for just allowing me a brief point. I really appreciate the point about, we have a long history of respecting the work of council members in their wards. And what I just want to highlight is that this is not the process that we all go through to do honorary street renamings. This is changing the legal title of a street essentially on public square. It's called public square for a reason. And this is not something that you recall in your time in the city of Cleveland. Can anyone on this body recall another time that we have changed the legal name of a section of our roadway? I'm personally not aware of one, and I would fully encourage and support Sherwin to apply for an honorary street renaming, which is the process we've all abided by and all supported each other in doing so. I've been grateful for the support of my colleagues when I've done so in my ward. But this is a different process that is changing, frankly, a historic and public good. And we are the leaders of the city. And so I feel it's incumbent to name that this is not the process we're going through. And while I certainly struggle with going against something that my colleague supports in their ward, public square is a public good. And for that reason, I would have to vote no on this.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 809, 2024? Are there any questions? Any other questions? All right, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Bishop,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Casey,
No.
Kelly,
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 nays.
Oh, didn't even call
You didn't call,
me.
you didn't call the councilwoman.
Thank you. I was going to vote no. And I'm a duly appointed member of this committee.
All right, this ordinance passes. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 809, 2024? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 809, 2024 is approved. And last but not least, it's resolution number 831, 2024 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Hairston. This is a departmental request, an emergency resolution declaring the intent to vacate a portion of West 48th Street Southwest and Ravine Court Southwest. All right, Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this is, as you mentioned, a resolution with the intent to vacate. As a reminder to council, this is the first of a three-step process to vacate a roadway. The first step is a resolution of intent to vacate. Then it goes to Board of Revisions of Assessments, whereby all the neighbors and lien holders are notified. And then we come back to City Council with an ordinance to actually vacate the roadway. This particular vacation request was a little bit tricky to process, and the request actually came in about 4 years ago. We've been working with the property owner and the councilman to figure out a way to do this. What makes it a little bit unusual is that the property owner, which is located at 2127 West 48th Street, is essentially his property is essentially wrapped with a very large swath of right-of-way. And so by looking at the codified ordinances, we were able to determine that we're able to vacate a portion of the right-of-way and not the entire right-of-way, which would allow this property owner the land that's needed for an addition and a garage on this person's house. So typically when we do a vacation, it's for an entire stretch of roadway from the entire right-of-way from point A to point B. And so this is just a portion of the roadway or right-of-way that is grass that's been maintained by this property owner for years, since he purchased his house in 1976. And again, the roads remain in place. This is just the grass portions of the right-of-way that would allow for an addition to the house.
Okay. All right, thank you, Director. Is there any questions on resolution number 831, 2024? No questions on 831? Resolution number 831, 2024? Seeing no further questions, resolution number 831, 2024 is approved. Please sign. All right, Director, that's the conclusion. You have any more pieces?
No.
Is there? No, we hold that. Is there anybody who wanted miscellaneous? All right, seeing no further questions, I hereby call the Municipal Services Committee adjourned.